Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the new game mode, Strike Team. It seems to be a bit of a divisive one. I think on the one hand, some people are enjoying somewhat of a competitive take on a game mode for Battlefield. On the other hand, if we go and take a look over at the subreddit, one of the top voted posts at the moment says this new mode is boring and mind-numbing. It has 663 upvotes at the moment, so there are a lot of people who aren't enjoying the game mode, seem to think it's a bit of a grind in terms of ribbons as well. And then additionally, even though we of course thought that was going to be the last piece of content for Battlefield 2042, there is at least one more patch that is in the works that we know about, and I do have some information on some of the changes and fixes that are going to be coming there as well. So guys, as always, if you enjoy the content here on the channel, hit up that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. Over 60 or 70% of you guys who watch my videos are not subscribed at the moment. You may just be watching these from your recommended section, so if you guys can check out the sub button below and make sure you are subbed up, that would be a massive help for the channel. So thank you guys so much for the support, as always. So for those of you who attended the stream on Tuesday, I played for a couple of hours playing Strike Team, and for the most part, I enjoyed my time of it. I thought it was an interesting take on a game mode for Battlefield, something that Battlefield doesn't normally do, having a one life only game mode. But on the other hand, it probably isn't something that I'm going to jump into on a regular basis either, even if they would make it a permanent mode, right? I think like most players, you're going to hop into this mode, you're going to play a few rounds, and then you're just going to go back to Breakthrough, and you're going to go back to Conquest again. That being said though, I did find it to be one of the better game modes that they've added with mid-season events, and I wouldn't mind seeing it in a future Battlefield game. However, there are definitely some tweaks and changes that I would like to see them make to it. So first of all, as an event here, I feel that needing 120 ribbons is a bit too much, although you do get them easier. So at first I thought, how in God's name am I going to get 120 ribbons when there's only 4 enemy players to kill on the enemy team with each round? It turns out, I don't know how they've done it, but you earn ribbons much faster than you do in other game modes. So after around 1.5 or 2 hours of playing, I think I had around 50 ribbons, which probably means I would have to play nothing but that game mode for maybe 5 or 6 hours to earn all of the rewards. Now, for some reason, with this particular event, DICE have decided that you can only earn these ribbons in this particular mode and not by playing all of the other modes, which has generally been the case. Now, why have they done this? Personally, I think it's because DICE need people to actually play this game mode. If you guys look at the last limited time game mode, which was Controlled Unlocked with 7.2, after one day, you couldn't even find people to play in that game mode anymore, so it sort of became obsolete, and it's likely because people generally only really play these game modes once for one day, and that's it, they're back to the normal game modes of Battlefield. Honestly, the skins aren't really anything to write home about. I really do like the little L5 Winzig, the little walker from Battlefield 2142, probably one of the favourite cosmetics for me in the entire game, so glad I didn't have to bother buying that one, I guess. But I think if you're forcing people to play your game mode just to get the rewards, and they don't want to play the mode purely for the sheer fun of the mode itself, then you're probably doing something wrong there. The second issue I really want to comment on here is that this is clearly a more competitive focused mode. It's built on other games like, Counter-Strike or Search and Destroy from Call of Duty, yet they haven't really banned any of the specialists or any of the weapons. So there are clearly some specialists, and you're going to see me playing, for example, as Pike here in the background, that are just way too overpowered. So Pike being one of them. Clearly wall hacks is something that shouldn't be in a competitive game mode like this. Yes, I'm aware it's not super competitive. We don't have a ranking system, a ladder system, or SBMM, or anything like that going on. But nevertheless, it's supposed to be taken a little bit more seriously than some of the other game modes that we've seen. And so therefore, I really expected to see them, nerf some of the cheesy shit, like Pike, like grenades, like the SPH launcher, like Zane, and that hasn't been the case. I also find that this game mode really changes up the dynamics of the class system. Normally you would think that the support class or the medic class was going to be the best one for this particular mode. Turns out you don't really get that many opportunities to heal yourself or even to get the quick revive on squad mates, and in my opinion, the assault class is probably the best because you actually get 4 armor plates. If you spawn in with armor, you spawn with 100 health and 40 armor, but you get 4 plates and you can actually replenish not just 20 armor, but all 40. And then of course you have the med pen to replenish your own health. So that's probably one of the best loadouts to go for. Again, some of the recon characters like Pike, you can also hack people with Rao, that's pretty effective too. One thing I really did enjoy about this game mode though was the addition of the shock rounds. So every now and again, you'll have a shock round happen in the game where everybody on your team and the enemy team spawns in with a random weapon. And generally speaking, it's somewhat of a skill weapon, so it could be a sniper rifle, it could be an RPG, an SPH launcher, the crossbow, the magnum, you name it. It just sort of adds something interesting where you may not necessarily be that proficient with that particular gadget or weapon. And I think some of those gadgets that I'd say should generally be banned may be okay for the shock rounds where, you know, it's just like RPG versus RPG. It reminds me a lot of GoldenEye back in the day. For anybody who's watching and is old enough to have played the original GoldenEye on Nintendo 64, you got some of those game modes there where you could like have, you know, proximity mines only or rocket launchers only. It was just a bit of silly fun, and I get the feeling that DICE are trying to emphasize that somewhat in this game mode. They're not taking it too super seriously. As I say, definitely somewhat of a divisive game mode. I think those of you out there who enjoy competitive shooters like Counter-Strike and those modes like Search and Destroy from Call of Duty are going to have some fun in this, especially if you can manage to play this game mode with some friends. As I mentioned before, as you guys know, Battlefield doesn't have skill-based matchmaking, so you are going to have a lot of games where you absolutely roll the enemy team or you get rolled by the enemy team. And so playing with friends is the surefire way to have the most amount of fun in this game mode, preferably on Discord. But on the other hand, I've also seen plenty of you guys voice your opinions saying that this is not why you play Battlefield. You play Battlefield for large-scale sandbox experiences like Conquest, like Breakthrough, like Rush, and this doesn't really belong in a Battlefield game. And I think that's a valid take. That being said though, I still don't think it really harms Battlefield in any way having this mode in here. Let's say it was put into the next Battlefield game as a more permanent fixture as well. And there is part of me that's always been curious to see where Battlefield would go if they made some competitively minded game mode. Hopefully one that's far better than this one, and it's actually properly balanced and they've vetoed and vaulted some weapons. And speaking of that, the Battlefield Communications Twitter account just put out this message here saying, following a backend server fix, the Claymore will no longer be available for use within the ongoing limited time mode Strike Team on Battlefield 2042. So, like, why would you have a Claymore? How is this not foreseeable that having a Claymore in such a mode, just like all the other myriad of weapons and gadgets that I've stated, is a terrible idea? I will just never understand that. I think there was some community-made mode like this that was done for the Battlefield 3 modding platform, Venice Unleashed, and they vetoed a lot of the stuff there. They even banned some of the primary weapons that were just too powerful, maybe like the VHX, for example. DICE haven't really taken any such measures here, and, you know, maybe it is because they just want you to be able to use whatever you like, and they don't want to make it too super competitive. But then I also wonder, why have they only vaulted the Claymore out of this mode and not a lot of the other cheesy stuff as well? But yeah, to conclude on that subject, I do like the game mode. It's an interesting avenue that they're deciding to go down with the game, but you do probably want to play it with some friends. Now, moving on to the next update coming to the game, and it's most likely not going to be a 7.3, but rather a 7.2.2. If you guys remember, we already got 7.2.1. I didn't cover that in a video because it was honestly such a small update, mostly bug fixes and some issues being cleared up by the team that didn't really make any difference to the gameplay, so I didn't cover it in a video. But I think a lot of us expected to see a fix for the mobility hit bug, not just for the jets, but I believe this is a bug for all of the vehicles in the game in this patch, and there was no such change there. They've also promised us, of course, that they are going to be changing the incendiary damage for the kerosene bomb on the new stealth bomber. It is in fact supposed to have some damage over time elements similar to an incendiary grenade, and that is not the case currently in 7.2.1. So I noticed on Twitter the other day that Nizark, who is a very well-known pilot, in fact, he's got a great YouTube channel, go and check him out. He's got some insane jet games on there, and he's had some world records of his own there. He says, when can we expect the fix for the disable bug? Obviously, he's a big jet guy, so he's asking Eddie about this, who is the lead vehicles designer. And Eddie chimes in here saying, you're going to have to wait for our community managers to communicate the exact dates, etc. But the fix for the jets is in the next patch. Now, Nizart goes on to say, you're aware that this bug affects all the aircraft, right? It's not just the jets. And then Eddie says it's all of them, ground included. So this was not just an issue with the air vehicles, also the ground vehicles. And he says jets got a hotfix treatment as it makes it very hard to fly, and they use the lightest armor so that it's a lot more noticeable, while the rest will come in another patch. So the way I read into this, it sounds like there's going to be some very tiny small patch in the form of a hotfix to fix the jet, and then the rest of it is coming later on. Not sure if we're actually going to get any sort of an announcement from the Battlefield communications team on that, but if I was you guys and you're interested in knowing when that fix goes live, give me a follow over on Twitter. I'm always retweeting this sort of stuff and trying to pass on the message from Eddie and the team here. And I'm sure eventually when this patch does go live, I'll make a full video on it as well. Now, as for the other changes to the kerosene bomb damage over time, is that going to be coming in 7.2.2? Hopefully, they haven't really clarified exactly what's going to be in there. I'm assuming we're not getting any more actual content for Battlefield 2042 at this point. Any updates that we get are likely to be tweaks to balance, some fixes and things of that nature. No actual real content coming to the game, but I suppose time will tell. Right guys, that is going to do it for this video. Leave me your thoughts and your comments down below. Let me know how you're getting on in Strike Team. Are you a fan of the game mode, or is it not something for you and you think it's too un-Battlefield-like? Leave those down below in the comments section. Have a good day, and I will see you guys in the next video.